Welcome to The Explainer. You see that out of stock sign and you think, okay, one lost sale. But what if I told you that's not the real story? That empty shelf can actually set off a chain reaction, one that can seriously damage or even cripple a business. Today, we are digging into those hidden costs and, more importantly, the strategies to conquer them.
All right, so here's what we're going to tackle. First, we'll peel back the layers and see the true cost of an empty shelf. Then we're going to build up our defenses with 5 really practical strategies, and we'll even map out a crisis plan for when things inevitably go wrong. From there, we'll get into a game-changing systemic solution, hear a pretty wild real-world story, and then wrap it all up with one key takeaway that I promise will change how you look at your inventory.
So, what is the real cost? Seriously, it's so much more than just the price tag on that one item. It's this ripple effect, right? It damages the trust you have with your customers, it burns out your team, and it can even create the exact opposite problem, having way too much of the wrong stuff. But first, let's get really clear about what we're fighting.
Okay, before we dive any deeper, we have to get this distinction right, because it's crucial. A stockout just means the item isn't on the shelf right now, but it's somewhere in your system. You can get it back. Out of stock, though, that's way more serious. It means the item is just gone. Poof. No more in the warehouse, no more at the supplier. Knowing that difference is absolutely the first step to solving the right problem.
Now that we know exactly what we're up against, let's break down those 4 hidden costs. This is where you really start to see the true damage of that one empty shelf unfold.
I like to think of these as the 4 horsemen of the stockout apocalypse. They look like 4 separate things, but don't be fooled. They are all locked together in this vicious cycle. See, a failure in one area doesn't just create one problem. It actually triggers a chain reaction that can pull a whole business down.
This one's the most obvious, right? It hits your bottom line and it hits it hard. An empty shelf is basically a cash register that's switched off. It's not just one missed sale, it's all the sales you're losing every single hour, every single day that your most popular product isn't there for people to buy.
Oof, this one stings because it's all about trust. A customer came to you, they expected to find what they needed, and you failed them. That little bit of friction erodes their confidence, it leads to bad reviews, and you know the worst part? It sends them running right into the arms of your competition. And here is the great paradox, the irony of poor inventory management. In this panic to avoid ever having a stockout again, managers overcorrect. They order way too much, and they create a brand new monster, a warehouse full of excess inventory. This is especially deadly for seasonal stuff, where today's hottest item is literally tomorrow's garbage. And let's not forget the human cost in all of this. Every single stockout kicks off an internal fire drill. Your team drops what they're doing to chase orders, figure out what went wrong, and deal with unhappy customers. It's this constant state of crisis that just burns out your best people. Think about it. What could your team accomplish if they weren't constantly fighting fires? So we've seen the damage. It's pretty clear. Now let's talk about building our defenses. Here are 5 proactive countermeasures you can start using to stop stockouts before they even get a chance to happen.
This is really the bedrock of a healthy inventory system. It all starts with simple physical organization, right? A place for everything and everything in its place. Once you have that, you can meticulously track every single item coming in and going out. With that accurate data, then you can start forecasting demand to find that perfect Goldilocks level of stock. Moving from paper to a digital system is the next logical jump. And finally, and this is a big one, always plan for lead time. These 5 steps, they work together. They create a really powerful defense.
But hey, let's be realistic. Even with the best plans in the world, a stockout might still happen. When it does, your response is everything. Here's how you can handle that crisis like a pro and minimize the damage. This 3-step protocol can actually turn a really negative experience into a positive one. First, you just have to own it. Apologize, explain what's going on. Second, be totally transparent about when it'll be back. And third, be helpful. Offer alternatives. You have to remember, it's not the mistake that defines you. It's how you recover from it. A great recovery can actually make a customer more loyal. Okay, so all these manual fixes and crisis plans, they're like putting a Band-Aid on a wound. They're essential for sure. They stop the bleeding. But to truly heal, you have to address what caused the wound in the first place. It's time to move beyond the first aid kit and look at a systemic cure. Now, this requires a pretty powerful shift in your thinking. Instead of just seeing inventory as a bunch of boxes in a warehouse, I want you to start seeing your entire company as one single interconnected inventory system. Everything, from the raw materials just arriving, to the half-finished products on your assembly line, all the way to the finished goods in the store. A delay in one area has a direct and immediate impact on all the others. So, how on earth do you manage this new holistic view? Well, the answer is something called a production scheduler. Just think of it as the brain of your entire operation. It's constantly taking in real-time data on sales, on production capacity, on supply chain issues, and then it creates this master plan to perfectly synchronize everything. The goal is simple, but it's revolutionary: to make exactly what the market wants, exactly when it wants it. Now, to really see why this kind of systemic solution is so critical, let's jump in a time machine for a quick cautionary tale. It's a story about phantom inventory. What happens when the numbers on a spreadsheet tell a very, very different story from the reality on the ground? So the story starts at a construction vehicle manufacturer, maybe about 50 years ago. A recession hits and sales start to slide. But here's the weird thing. The official inventory numbers on the company's books, they looked totally fine. So naturally, management at headquarters wasn't worried at all. On paper, everything looked okay. And then, a very strange complaint works its way up to the head office. It wasn't from a customer, though. It was from their own employees. They said they couldn't use the company's sports field anymore for their after-work activities. This completely random piece of feedback, it was the first clue that something was seriously wrong. Well, when a manager went down to the factory to investigate, he couldn't believe his eyes. The sports field was completely covered, just packed, bumper to bumper, with finished, unsold vehicles. It turns out the factory had been selling these vehicles to dealerships on paper to make their numbers look good, but the dealers had no actual space for them, so this sold inventory never left. This wasn't just some creative accounting, it almost destroyed the company. They were drowning in inventory they didn't even know they had. The ultimate lesson from this near disaster is captured perfectly in this quote. Data, spreadsheets, reports, they are not enough. You have to walk the floor. You have to see reality with your own two eyes and bridge that gap between the digital world and the physical one. So, we've dissected the problem, we've looked at solutions, we've learned from a crazy near disaster. What's the one core lesson? The one thing we really need to walk away with? It's this. Stockouts and excess inventory are not two different problems. They are two sides of the exact same coin. Both of them are just symptoms of a disconnected system where the data doesn't match reality. The real solution isn't just about preventing empty shelves, it's about achieving a perfect, unified balance across your entire operation. And that brings us to our final, and I think most critical question. Take a hard look at your own business. Right now, is your inventory a ticking time bomb of hidden risks, or is it a powerful, strategic asset that's actually driving your success? The answer to that question, well, it could define your future. Thanks for joining us.